Hi, I'm Tim Harrison. I'm the Managing Director of Ionic Rare Earths Limited. We're here in Belfast where we're progressing well on commercialising our technology, our magnet recycling technology here at Ionic Technologies. I'm here with our chairman, Brett Lynch.
Thanks, Tim. And I'm delighted to be on board as chairman of Ionic. I'm here because I see great opportunities to develop a leading recycling-based business and support Tim and the team in making that happen.
Guys, nice to be here in your backyard.
Well, great to have you, Matt.
Yeah, it's actually my backyard. I was brought up here, but so Belfast. We've had a little sort of tour around Belfast before we came and joined you. Really kind of thriving, a lot of investment, urban regeneration. Pretty exciting times for Belfast.
Yeah, there's a lot happening here. There's a lot of investment, and we can certainly see the growth of an offshore wind hub emerging here in Belfast, supported by the infrastructure and a very, very supportive government.
Okay, well, I'd love to talk to you about that in a second, because we've had a look around at some of the players here. As you say, there's a lot of interest and a lot of inbound for sure. Let's talk about what you've got. For people new to your story, let's be clear, set out the story. Rare Earths company in what way?
Yeah, well, we've got here at Ionic Technologies, we've got IP, which we're commercialising, applying it to magnet recycling. So we take the end-of-life magnets, but we can also take waste materials created in the manufacturing of metals, alloys and magnets. We take that material, we extract the rare earths out, and we take that back to a high-purity product. We're the first to do this, and we now provide a mechanism to unlock what is a latent opportunity here in the UK and Europe, right, as well as North America. But we're really focusing on commercialising the first plant here in Belfast.
I'm actually looking at some of the output from you. These are the heavies.
These are the two lights and they're the two heavies.
Okay, right. So what are we looking at here?
So praseodymium, neodymium, terbium and dysprosium.
Okay, fine. And so this is the kind of difficult stuff, but high margin stuff?
Very high margin for us.
Okay, right. So that's what you're looking at first. Nothing nefarious, I promise. Right, let's talk about the technology that you've got. We're going to have a little scoot around your facility here, where you've kind of moved it from desktop lab type stuff right the way through to sort of full operating pilot from what we can see. What's happening back there?
Yeah, so we acquired the business back in early 2022.
Yeah,
at that time it was lab scale. We've taken it through pilot and demonstration. We've been successful as we've scaled it up, and we're now working on a feasibility study.
Okay.
We've got a demonstration plant which we'll take you through, which is now converting 30 tonnes of magnets per annum into 10 tonnes of separated magnet rare earth oxides per annum right now.
Right, fantastic. So and you're moving facility as well, though, aren't you? Hoping to at some point.
Well, yeah, with the commercial facility, and we'll take you for a bit of a look around the Belfast Harbour region, but we're working on a significant scaled facility right smack bang in the middle of the Belfast Harbour.
12 acres. It's a chunk of land.
It is, yes. And I think that sort of goes to some sort of indication of the scale that we think can be achieved.
I think the interesting thing for me is, I think that we've been here, you seem to be way more advanced than I had recognised. At one point, you had a bunch of guys here yesterday, brokers and financiers out of the UK, already pumped out a couple of notes this morning. They are quite surprised by how advanced you guys are.
Yeah, look, I mean, we've been engaging and communicating the progress that we've been making, but I think seeing is believing, and taking people around, talking through the progress that we've made, sort of putting a bit of context around certainly the opportunity here in Belfast. But as we think about scaling that globally, the penny is dropped.
Right. And I'll get on to scaling, because I think it's a really big, important part of what you've got to kind of communicate. Let's come back to the technology component here, okay? So this technology came out originally from Belfast, or Queen's University Belfast.
That's it. It was made here, and it'll be commercialised here.
Right, okay. So I guess that's good news for everyone around here. You're fully committed to this area as well, then?
We've got a supportive government that really wants to see this technology commercialised in the UK, and certainly local stakeholders that want to see technology coming from Queen's University into manufacturing and operations here in Belfast.
Right, and in terms of, again, sticking with technology just for now, where you guys are at compared globally, because I think the mission critical component of rare earths at the moment is how do you produce this stuff ex-China, right? That's the big driver. Not many companies do this, and those that do kind of need to kind of go through the phases kind of quite quickly to kind of establish that position themselves, jockey for success, as it were. So where are you, certainly in terms of the UK ecosystem, and where would this put you in Europe as well?
Well, certainly we would be one of the only producers of heavy rare earths in this European market. As far as where this technology sits relative to our peers, we're the only recycling opportunity that can separate to individual oxides, and that is demonstrating that now. There are a number of other recycling opportunities there that are also progressing, which are short loop recycling. So they go back to a mixed product, whether that be a mixed metal or a mixed oxide. But really, the differentiation with us is the separated products and the magnet opportunities that are unlocked through that.
Okay, and how important is this kind of first mover component for you? Because, well, I imagine it's very important for you. How important is it for Belfast? How important is it for the UK government? And what are they doing to support you?
Well, I think as a first mover, we've got an opportunity to set some of the rules around how this recycling opportunity...
What do you mean by that?
Well, what does it look like pricing, and how we can sort of leverage product into more integration into the supply chain and value addition.
But isn't there kind of like, there's global pricing surely, and it seems to be mostly driven out of China. Is there any way breaking that hold?
Look, I would say there are customers out there that are looking for an alternative, secure supply of separated magnet rare earths, and we've got a product that can satisfy their need.
So and those customers are ex-China too, presumably.
Yes.
So at no point should any, including your own, should any of those part of the supply chain touch China if UK and Europe are to be able to control this?
Look, I think, again, the opportunity with our technology and what we're doing is that our ability to work with metal, alloy and magnet manufacturers enable us to create, an ecosystem that is less influenced by external pricing factors, because we can work in collaboration to unlock the value in waste streams and return those high purity separated oxides back into their supply chain.
Right, and in terms of, I get the UK support, and there's it's not just like the UK government. There's a lot of players that you're interacting with at the moment. Maybe you could give us some of the names in a second, but how do they support you? In what way are they? Is there cash available to you, or is it sort of tax credits, or how does that work for you? Because as a public company, you want to keep the cost tight. You want to make sure that business model says not a lot of money needed up front, but we've got to set ourselves up for the biggest possible scale of return.
Yeah, so I think we've got a very supportive stakeholder with the UK government, and Innovate UK has been a big supporter of us. We've also had tremendous support from the APC, the Advanced Propulsion Centre. We've had a number of grants, and we've successfully delivered on those grants, which I think puts us in a strong position for parcels, packages, funding opportunities, whether that be grants or other things, and incentives to help the company cornerstone and commercialise the opportunity here in Belfast.
Okay. I'm sure we'll come back to some of those points during this conversation. Brett, how are you?
Waiting,
raring to go. Well, let's get into the commercial component, because I think that's your bag, isn't it? But before we do that, give us a little bit more detail on the background. Where have you been? What have you done?
Really, my background is growing companies, predominantly in the mineral space, be it coal, lithium, explosives, mining services, a whole range of companies, but all looking for that product and or technology where there's a need for that, can create a competitive edge, and then design the path forward to really become a leader globally. And that's what I see in spades here at Ionic Tech.
Well, okay, what do you see specifically? What are the areas of opportunity as far as you're concerned?
I think the first area is on, as Tim mentioned, the technology. that technology is unique, and it's really set up to provide that requirements for certain sectors of the rare earths supply chain that are looking for a premium product, specifically the heavies. In addition to that, that's the premium that we're looking for. And my job is to make sure this business makes money, which isn't common in rare earths at the moment.
Or mining.
Well,
not that you're miners, but it's natural resource
you bring a good
space.
point.
Yeah.
This business plan, which is the second part, I think, of our competitive edge, is actually not to mine. That is, we are looking as a business to create a closed loop between magnet manufacturers, alloy manufacturers, and now ourselves. They're a recycling company that can do the complete split of rare earths. And in that, it's a closed loop. And as you pointed out before, we don't need to interact with China. We can actually guarantee security, we can guarantee quality, traceability, and we can do that in a ESG lower than a mining operation because we're just an industrial business. So that's the two parts that I think give us an edge and something that provides first leader opportunity, because no one's done that yet, not in the West.
Right, I can imagine that kind of message is going to appeal to people like the DoD in the US and same here in the UK and which is great, but it's sort of limited opportunity. I'm wondering in terms of, let's come back to the scale component. Where do you see this kind of the growth in the scale coming from? What are the silos of revenue or customers that you'd be looking to get on board?
Yeah, so I think there's a series of steps because we need to de-risk this as well. The first step, as Tim said, we're looking to build the cornerstone or the mothership here in the UK. We're well already set up, all the infrastructure, the Belfast port, our facilities, our people have been working on this for years. So we have that again, competitive advantage to quickly deploy and construct a facility here, a commercial scale facility. So that's the first step. That, yes, will not supply the world's needs, but it's of significant scale. The second is, because it's an industrial facility, it's scalable and it's reproducible. So we're in discussions around the world, in North America, specifically the US, looking at Canada, and countries in Europe, all have very similar now geopolitical and manufacturing requirements that need that type of security of supply and the quality control around what they're looking for, high-performance magnets.
Okay, let's talk about some of the pitfalls that some juniors experience. Okay, so one is a issue around financing. How do you raise the money to do what you want to do? And typically, and I know I've said it, you've said it, you're not, this bit of the business is not a mining business. This is a recycling business. Very different model, very different cash requirements. But how important is the building of a commercial venture here, not just a demo? Demo maybe suggests you sit around waiting for people to buy, take a license opportunity from you. Commercial means you want to generate revenue, sort of be in control a little bit of your costs. Is that right?
There's, I think, and part of our business plan, there are various options that have very different financing requirements. In general, though, it's the real point of why we're focused downstream in industrial process, because it's capital light. It's in tens of millions, not billions, if we were upstream and doing mining and actually refining. So that's the first solution to the capital. We bring it orders of magnitude down. That is within the sort of financing and borrowing space that a young upstart company like we are can actually move into in a significant position. In addition to that, certainly here in the UK, we are confident that we will get that support. We've already gotten that in terms of building the demonstration plant, and we're in discussions with the government around supporting us for the commercial scale. Again, it's modest numbers from the government perspective on such a strategic step to secure that security in the country. Third, as we move to look to replicate this and accelerate it by putting other plants in critical markets in the world.
Is the licensing model you're looking at?
That could be the other opportunity. JVs, licensing.
Right.
There is a whole range then of options for us, because all of a sudden we start to become a very efficient solution for some of the larger magnet producers and other, specialist chemical or metal producers in these regions.
Okay. An important part of those negotiations, whether they be JVs or licensing, and quite frankly, for your own kind of commercial ventures, these two bad boys. Have you got economic studies on what the cost will be to produce these things?
That's what we're working on right now.
Where's that,
feasibility study. We're closing in on wrapping that up over the coming weeks. So it is very, very close. But that's also a discussion tool that we're using with key stakeholders here in the UK.
Right. So, but your expectation is it's not going to be marginal.
No. I think when we acquired the technology, some of the work that was done back in 2018 sort of indicated a price range of sort of $30 to $40 a kilo in order to convert metal and magnets back to the high purity oxides.
Right.
I think we've done quite a bit of work, and we'd be sort of looking to come in under that target.
Okay.
So, I think we'd be aiming for that $25 to $30 a kilo in order to convert that feedstock to ultimately a high value product. So if you're looking at dysprosium, that's at the moment about $250 a kilo. Okay. So there's substantial margin on that.
Yeah.
And terbium's probably around $750 a kilo.
Okay.
But, that's come down a bit over the last sort of 2 years.
Where was it during this peak?
I think it hit about $2,400 a kilo.
Right. Okay. See, that's the thing. That kind of allows people to go, well, this is a high margin project. It's something I can understand. I'm not dealing with sort of low margin, single digit returns on an IRR basis.
It's exactly part of this downstream strategy.
Got it.
We don't have to mine raw, the raw basket of rare earths, all 17. We're focused downstream, and particularly focused on looking at securing that product in terms of waste from magnets or offcuts, which are a much higher percentage of those two little bad boys. That is where we're looking to be much more, not just cost efficient, but also margin accretive.
Right.
Because we can selectively take feedstock that we are looking for with a higher percentage than upstream of those high margin rare earths.
So the process, the technology is a process which is yours. That's your intellectual property.
Yeah, we've got IP. So that IP was generated here at Queen's, and we've taken that IP, we've added additional patents, and we're in the process of adding more patents. We're continuing to innovate, optimize, and give ourselves a lot of optionality about this technology and how we deploy it globally.
Okay. And what about skill sets here in Belfast? I mean, obviously, we're talking about Queen's University Belfast, one of the better universities in the world, I would say. But in terms of the ability to hire the people that you're going to need to run the commercial component to this, let alone the licensing.
Yeah, look, I mean, we've built a strong team here, and there's a lot of graduates from Queen's University Belfast. We continue to sponsor and look at initiating projects, and that then helps us identify new employees. So I'm very confident that we've got access to a very strong talent pool here in Belfast.
Okay. So that's on the people front, and in terms, I guess part of that would be why people want jobs, right? They want you to be successful. But they also want you to employ people. How do you build up a hub like this, or how do you be part of a hub like this and still be thinking about kind of global expansion? Because you got to, don't put the horse before the cart or the cart before the horse. I can't remember which way around it is. What have you got to do here to deliver on your commercial component? How long is it going to take?
So, first step, to have the commercial plant in production that Tim and the team are designing. The target is before end 2026.
Okay. So
that's just around the corner.
Yeah.
Again, compared to, much longer upstream path, that's closer to 10 years than it is to 2 years. So that's the first step, and we're going to focus on that very intently with our operations technical team that are all here. We've also got the benefit in terms of, as you said, with Belfast. We're not the first or only new technology investor and company to develop here. Amazon are here. I mean, the Belfast harbour facility is phenomenal in terms of its growth. Microsoft, there wouldn't be a name there that the world wouldn't know, and all very successful, fast-moving, high-profit companies have moved in there, and a lot with technologies in sort of fields with green energy, etc. So we've got a big pool of knowledge support already built into here. So that's where I think we can actually move to this tight timetable. Whilst we're doing that and we're proving the commercial, these negotiations with other partners, with other territories, will just happen in parallel. I see that as how we can then move up the scale into expansion.
Can you kind of say one before the other? You know, in the sense you've got to get this right, because you've got to show, look, we're doing it, it's right. And if you want to license it and create your own kind of high margin center wherever you are in the world, here's how you do it. Licensing comes in many shapes and forms, right?
Yeah.
How far are you advanced in conversations with companies who may be interested in learning what you're doing? And, you know, sort of, who are they? What sort of companies?
I can't tell you who they are, obviously, Matt. But, you know, we've hosted a number of visits with groups who've come in, seen what we've done here, and they want us to replicate.
Are they testing with you?
Of course.
Okay. Like a lot. Like we'd know the names.
You would know the names.
Okay.
And so what, you know, and talking about the scale and the rollout of the technology, it's going to require people. It's going to require competency, and that's what we're building here, so that we can see that competency from the technical capability that we're going to generate here in Belfast.
Okay.
Yes, just add to that, Matt. You know, we've already embedded, and this is how we take little steps but quickly. We've already embedded in terms of our business development plan a partnership and agreement with LCM and Ford. So within the next months, we will have produced that volume. Tim and the team will have worked with them. It will be tested, weighed, measured, evaluated, and we'll have one of the biggest car companies in the world be able to then, you know, ascertain, confirm, and hopefully move on further with us with that first initial batch of production. So all of these things, I think, can help us accelerate all the commercial arrangements where we can be actually building and selling off the plan, albeit construction, you know, is still going to happen post completing the Belfast plant, because I think we really do need to, you know, plant the flag there and make sure we've ironed out the wrinkles and optimise the plant so it is world class. It can go anywhere we need to pick it up and put it in the world.
Well, let's carry on that track, because like when I'm looking at investing from our fund into projects like this, I'm looking for the reasons they'll fall over, quite frankly. And if I can't find any, great, I'm on to the next thing. So let's look at some of the drivers which enable this success. Okay, the macro, as it were. What's happening in terms of whether it be UK government or European government? Don't mind. What are they doing to kind of drive this massive change from OEMs globally? Hundreds of billions of dollars being spent to electrify their fleets. Where's that coming from?
Well, you've got policy,
right?
So, case in point, probably the best example of policy is the European Critical Raw Material Act.
Right.
And they've set the ambition to have 25% of the magnet rare earth supply chain coming from recycling by the end of this decade.
How are they going to track that?
Well, I think they're going to implement a number of measures.
I'd suggest we'd help them.
Right. Okay. Right. But okay. So they're going to track it, is what you're saying?
Yes.
What's the number now? How much is being recycled and put into that ecosystem?
It's hard to quantify, but you know, I've seen lots of numbers reported, but somewhere in the order of 1% of the magnet rare earth content in Europe is actually recycled in Europe. That's not to say that there's not a flow of material that's leaving the European border.
So this 25% target is going to be delivered by when? What year?
2030.
Okay.
That, Matt, is, I think, why it's such an outstanding opportunity.
Yep.
What gravitated me very quickly to to invest as soon as I got involved into Ionic. You have such a small capacity and base here in Europe compared to what the targets are. And the reason why those targets are there, because we know there is a significant volume of product that's already leaving Europe, being recycled in China, that needs the governments the setting policies to actually capture. And we provide that technology to make that happen for the first time.
I think that's kind of scary for me. If you're going from 1% to 25%, and by the way, that 25% number as an absolute number is of a much bigger number by 2030, presumably as well. So it's a sort of, they're chasing a number. Is it actually achievable? And and for it to be achievable, what does that mean they got to do in terms of working with companies like yourself?
Look, the other thing I'd point out, Matt, is recycling can take many forms within the magnet rare earth supply chain.
Right.
So, there is waste materials that are generated in the production of metals, alloys, and magnets.
Uh-huh.
Importantly, our technology can take all of those plus end-of-life magnets. So we have quite a broad potential feed stock. So if we look at what's being recycled at the moment within Europe, it probably reflects the lack of alternatives that exist to date. And I think that creates a great opportunity for ourselves, because for the first time, some of the customers or potential partners that we're looking at in Europe, we're providing them with a solution that they haven't been able to achieve inside this jurisdiction previously.
My challenge, or our challenge, I don't think is necessarily having to fill that 25%. Our challenge, I think, is to...
So our being your company or...
Our
Right,
yeah,
okay.
Ionic.
No, okay, because it's vast. It's a big number.
Correct. So our challenge, Ionic's challenge, is to take as much as we can, as quickly as we can, of the most profitable of that 25%.
Right.
Hence, we talked about...
Is that come back to these two?
Those two, but also the customer segments.
Right,
Now,
okay.
Clearly there are certain segments that are very China sensitive and not price sensitive. Defence, for a start.
Yeah.
And, you can't build defences without those two products being the core of constructing any of the equipment.
Okay.
So that supply chain is not currently here anywhere in Europe. So countries, defence departments are going to need to move very quickly to secure that once that technology is available and that supply chain's there. We'd like to be leading that front and centre.
Okay.
Second, there is also where these two rare earths have a much greater impact on the performance of the magnets. And as you see now, everyone, including Porsche of the world, are moving to high performance, from electric vehicles, etc. Then they become much more critical to the overall value. There is a premium that logically is associated with those, over and above the fact that they're rare and scarce and command higher premium. But they're customers who are looking for security of supply and quality control. And it is much easier to be delivering that from within Europe to Europe than halfway across the world. And so it's those segments that is part of our business plan, which is where we'll start. How far that takes us up to 25%, we will see by 2030. But that really, I think, is growing as quickly as possible, the most profitable business within that 25%. I think it's a good problem to have. I'd rather have 25% as a bar than 2.5%, because I think that allows us to control, I think, within our competencies and capabilities and expandability. Yeah. And that isn't the issue then anymore.
Okay, so you've got your own proprietary technology.
Yep.
You say there's a big addressable market which is being sort of or mandated by governments onto OEMs, battery manufacturers more broadly. Competition. It's taken a while. This is a Queen's University Belfast project from 2014. They started working on this, right? A long time ago. It takes a while to kind of come up with the technology. You guys, your job is commercializing it like properly into a public company. Competition. Is there much competition at the moment in terms of other groups doing this with saying similar technologies addressing similar markets and taking your market share?
Well, look, I think there is other companies certainly in the magnet recycling space, but there's not many magnet recycling companies looking at long loop recycling, right? So not many companies, in fact, none at the moment out there demonstrating capability to separate all four.
Right. Okay.
So I think that
what they're
creates...
doing, kind of black mass type.
Yeah, there's a range of different products, whether they are crushed metal or mixed metal, mixed oxide. There's a range of different technologies that are out there. And to be honest, they all present potential feed sources for...
Well, that's what I say. You suggested that earlier. So you could actually take their products, they'll take it, capture value up to a certain point, and then you could continue to capture value by putting their feed in.
Yeah, I mean, that's the optionality of what we've got. We can take multiple feed and we can feed it into multiple steps. And so we do have the ability to be accretive at work with partners. So, I think there are roles and opportunities for all players in the magnet recycling space because there is so much opportunity.
That's interesting. So that would negate their need to sell it into someone else who could separate, which was possibly China.
Yeah, I mean, we do provide optionality for them to further unlock value from those products.
Interesting. So there are players in the space, but not necessarily working all the way through that food chain.
That's right.
Like this.
Yeah, and, we talked about long loop recycling. The alternative, short loop recycling, goes back to those black mass style mixed products. What we can do, and happy to show you through the plant shortly, is to separate the individual oxides, which again creates that great competitive technical advantage that our potential partners are looking for.
Right, okay. Sorry.
I think what we'll see as the industry evolves, and it doesn't exist today.
Yeah, it's fairly nascent in that sense.
So there will be, like any industry that is mature, they'll evolve premium end, just cost-focused commodity end, and then something in between. We are clearly focused on that premium because our technology allows us to service them best. And there isn't that technology against our patents at the moment. Maybe it will come, but that's why we want to move quickly on it and establish the systems that actually they institutionalise our type of process. I think what you also see is then this black mass end of the market. A competitor or not? Well, it depends. If that's actually because we can't fill all of that, what we take, the premium end and the rest of the 25%, I don't know that I'd call that competition at this stage, and we just simply can't even get there, and we're happy with the premiums here. I think that you'll see happen based on what I would call quality of technology and separation. That's probably what will drive that. What I think, though, is more important for all of us, the major competitor is China. And they will react and they will respond. And our strategy is to get into the areas and those segments, as we said, defence or into performance, where frankly that price, because that's what China can respond on, it has responded on, we're insulated from that. Because that isn't...
Explain that, because that's really, really important to me. Because I want to understand, when you say China's competitor, if and we've talked about in the past about bifurcated markets and obviously governments putting up barriers to, and defences, quite frankly, to ensure that they've got a route to supply. If China decides one day, like it has in the past with rare earths, say, I'm going to switch things off here, good luck to you, we've all got a problem. So competition in what way, and how do you take advantage of this whole scenario?
Well, I think then there's two levers China could pull if it wanted to compete. One, it could stop supply. Okay, over and above our technology, us designing a business that's integrated, aligned, joint ventured, licensed between magnets, alloys, and recycling, we create a closed loop. We're independent of China at that point. And certainly to our key customers, defence and premium, we've probably got enough there because it's not like there isn't a significant amount of recyclable material already in the West. The West doesn't actually produce, magnets, etc. in any scale, but it consumes a lot compared to China. So there is actually a feedstock here ready available for us that I think will allow us to be sustainable, even if China supply chain was cut off. Second, if they did what they've typically done, whether it's lithium or rare earths, and drop the price to below economics, which is literally what's sitting there today, for us, because I think if we're successful with our segments, who are supply critical, not price critical, and we should be far more insulated than the, let's call it the other segments, the price-focused commodity segments, which black mass might service, but that will cause pain in that segment. We want to use our technology to lever us into a business model that is sustainable, and what we're designing it for is relative to China, because that, I think, is the biggest threat for anyone in the rare earths industry to make profit at the moment.
Right. So let's talk about partnerships, because I think this is a really important part for companies of your size. And I've talked to lots of companies about this, which is around you've got something unique. You've described a market for it. You've clearly articulated the commerciality component, how you will be able to make money, how you aim to make money from this one. Company of your size right now, it'd be a very, very cheap project to pick up. If I'm a big boy looking and going, crikey, these boys have cracked the code, I'll come in now. How do you pick the partners which allow you to play the offense game, i.e. get after the market and grow, but also the defense game, because you want to build this thing out, not them, presumably.
Yeah, look, I think it's an interesting one. We've spoken with a lot of groups, and it's really about finding those accretive relationships where they identify the offering that we can provide and how that can unlock opportunity for them, and likewise for ourselves. We know the drivers within our process and our business model, and so who are the partners that are accretive to our strategies. And I think we've zeroed in on who they likely are, and progressing those discussions. And when we're in a position to talk to the market about that, we'll do that.
But you're conscious of it, is the point. You're aware that's it.
So,
yeah,
absolutely.
Okay.
I think one of the key things here, and why we're taking that first step into building out, our technology in Belfast, is the support, and we think the confidence of the UK government coming with us. And our interest is their interest, and with our technology, they've probably got even more interest in making sure that is aligned and available for the national interests. Having them on board from day one, I think, is a very good position for a small young company to start. They're not in it to be predatory. So that's I think one step where we put a bigger brother alongside us early up. Second, I think what Tim's talking about, we are keen to get aggressive, and well funded with investors alongside us if we want to hyperscale. Of course, we need partners, but we need ones with the strengths we don't have.
Right.
Technology, we've got local advantage, but we'll need that. And that is always a problem. Little company, big company, as you said, can get pretty predatory about that. I think one of the advantages we've also got over and above having a cornerstone with government support is the fact that we also are the only technology at the moment. It balances up the weight divisions a bit.
Right.
In that if you want the unique advantages that technology brings to deliver a first moving global scale business, the first one ever that I can see in reverse, at an industrial level, low risk, the aggression, I think, can be balanced a bit more.
Okay.
Because we have to agree.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's just hone in on a little bit of the business model. You referenced it earlier. Say, obviously, there's a kind of low entry point project for you, in the sense that you're not going out and blowing your brains out on a massive infrastructure build out or borrowing money that you can't afford. You're getting access to some quite interesting money, and I imagine with whatever structures you do with JV partners or people wanting to, I don't know, fund any aspect of your business, or even kind of prepay. Who knows where you guys will go? you're not going to be going back to market and raising hundreds of millions of dollars. So that it's kind of interesting from that perspective. With the partners that you've got, you're going to have to get after some big balance sheet people, because they are going to have to build out their own facilities following your process, your flow sheets, etc. And you will take effectively a royalty, presumably. Is that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, look, I mean, again, it's on a case-by-case basis, depending on who the partner is. But you're right. You need to find the right partner that can help us execute, but also we're providing a product into their strategy, supply chain, whatever that may be.
Is it clear to you where, there was a point of getting to it eventually, are you clear where those partners are? Is there a decent sized ecosystem in Europe? Have you got access to North America? All of those questions, because again, I want to get to that point where I've got a sense of margin, I want a sense of the scale, I want a sense of who. Have you been out there on the road, talking to these sort of balance sheet size companies that you want to be?
Yeah, look, I mean, we've been...
No more names, I know.
No, look, these discussions have been ongoing for some time.
Right. And these are the people who are testing the product now, presumably, or are there other markets too?
Look, I mean, they're looking at product, but they're also looking at the integration of the technology within their strategy.
Okay.
It's clear, Matt, this solution, supply chain and technology, is applicable for any significant industrial country.
Yeah.
And the focus we've got at the moment is certainly North America, specifically the USA.
Okay.
Department of Defense in the USA is publicly open about this being one of the most important critical metals that it must secure self-sustainability and supply on. So that's no secret. It's it's clear, it's obvious. And similarly in Europe, the big industrials, whether England, Germany, France, just start with those, are all, I think, clear in terms of government policy positions that this is a solution that they're all looking at and seems pretty attractive at the moment.
Okay, so in terms of, coming back to that first mover advantage thing again, because in terms of commercial advantage, first movers is quite helpful. You're not having conversation about the theory of can we separate, clearly.
No,
right? You're doing it.
Yeah, can I have one of them?
Demo plans out the back.
The demo plan was built to demonstrate it.
Yeah.
And the 14 or 15,
Yeah.
investors, funds and analysts that were here, I don't think saw anything but a demonstration of that working.
Right. Okay. And so therefore, first mover advantage thing is that there's a kind of defense. I'm looking for defense and offense here. So the defense is we're ahead of the curve. Are you separating out like all 17 rare earths?
No,
just focusing on.
If you look at those four elements today represent nearly 80% of the value in the rare earth supply chain.
Okay.
And in the next 10 years, it'll be 90%. So I think, it's a huge focus.
Okay.
That one is a singular focus. That's their profitable industrial processed products. And that's the business model. That's the business we're building around.
Guys, appreciate it. I'm looking forward to bouncing around in the demo plant. I think we're going to pop down and sort of see some wind turbines on the docks.
Yeah.
And a sort of interested party down there, and the sort of general green hub, I think we're going to call it.
Wind energy hub.
Wind energy hub. Okay.
And the Northern Ireland Enhanced Investment Zone.
Place to be.
It's happening here, Matt. It's happening.
And you'll see it out there, Matt. A lot of the elements, the spokes to build that hub are already in place. I mean, enormous wind turbines being assembled and every day, sailing literally half that front office.
Let's go do it.
Let's go now.
Let's go.
Around.
Give a cheers, Matt. Nice, Brett. Appreciate it.
Cheers.